You are not waiting for the right time. You are hiding from the responsibility of becoming the person you keep saying you want to be. That sounds harsh. But look at your life honestly. How many times have you told yourself, I'll start when things calm down. I'll change when I have more money. I'll take my health seriously after this stressful season. I'll leave that toxic situation when I feel stronger. I'll become disciplined when I finally feel motivated. And somehow, the perfect moment never arrives. There is always another problem, another bill, another emotional crisis, another excuse that feels reasonable enough to keep you exactly where you are. Welcome to Stoic Chisel. If this message speaks to the part of you that knows you have been delaying your own life, subscribe to the channel, because here we do not worship comfort. We carve character. Now listen carefully. The Stoics did not teach that life becomes easier when you wait long enough. They taught that your power begins the moment you stop negotiating with what is outside your control. You do not control the economy. You do not control your boss. You do not control who supports you, who leaves you, who misunderstands you, or who refuses to appreciate your effort. But you control the next decision. You control whether you get out of bed. You control whether you waste another night scrolling through the lives of people you envy. You control whether you keep calling fear being careful. Picture this. It is 1:17 in the morning. The room is dark. Your phone is glowing in your hand. You are watching strangers build bodies, businesses, relationships, confidence, freedom. And with every swipe, a quiet pain grows inside you. Not because they have something you can never have, but because a part of you knows you are watching other people act, while you keep postponing your own beginning. Then you wake up tired. You tell yourself you do not have enough time. But the truth is more uncomfortable. You had time. You sacrificed it to distraction, because distraction demanded nothing from you. Action does. And that is why waiting feels so safe. Waiting lets you keep the fantasy of who you could become without facing the discomfort of actually becoming that person. As long as you have not started, you can still imagine yourself as talented, misunderstood, full of potential. But the moment you act, reality gives you feedback. Maybe you are not as disciplined as you thought. Maybe you are not as focused. Maybe you are not as serious. And that is exactly why action is sacred. It destroys the false self. It shows you the truth. The perfect moment is a lie, because life does not hand transformation to people who keep asking for better conditions. Life responds to people who begin while conditions are still imperfect. The Stoic does not say, I will be brave when fear disappears. He says, fear is here, and I will move anyway. He does not say, I will be disciplined when I feel inspired. He says, inspiration is unreliable, so my standards must be stronger than my mood. You do not need a new year. You do not need a Monday. You do not need a sign. You need one honest decision made today. But once you stop blaming time, something more uncomfortable appears. You have to face the role you played in your own delay. Responsibility is not the same as blaming yourself. This is where many people misunderstand Stoicism. They hear the word responsibility, and immediately they think it means, everything is my fault. That is not wisdom. That is self-punishment. Responsibility does not mean pretending your pain was imaginary. It does not mean your childhood did not affect you. It does not mean people did not betray you. It does not mean the economy is fair, your boss is kind, your family understood you, or life gave you equal conditions. Stoicism is not asking you to deny reality. It is asking you to stop handing your future to the parts of reality you cannot control. Because there is a dangerous comfort in blame. Blame gives you a place to hide. As long as everything is someone else's fault, you never ask the harder question. What can I do now? That question is painful because it removes the audience. It removes the drama. It removes the excuse. Suddenly, life is no longer a courtroom where you prove how unfair everything has been. It becomes a workshop where you pick up the tools still available to you. And that is where power begins. Think about the person who hates their job. Every night, they come home exhausted. They complain about the manager. They complain about the salary. They complain about the company, the commute, the coworkers, the economy. And maybe they are right. Maybe the job really is draining them. Maybe the workplace really is unfair. But then you ask one simple question. Have they updated their resume? Have they learned one new skill? Have they applied to 5 better positions? Have they saved enough money to create even a small exit plan? Most of the time, the answer is silence. Not because they are stupid, not because they are lazy in some permanent way, but because complaining feels like movement when you are too afraid to move. It creates the emotional illusion that you are doing something. But your life does not change because you explained your suffering well. Your life changes when your behavior starts contradicting your excuses. The Stoics understood something brutal about human nature. We often prefer a familiar prison over an unfamiliar responsibility. Because the prison gives us an identity. I am the unlucky one. I am the misunderstood one. I am the one who never gets a chance. And once that identity becomes comfortable, freedom starts to feel threatening. Because freedom means you can no longer blame the cage for every choice you refuse to make. This does not mean you control everything. You do not. You cannot control whether people respect you. But you can control whether you keep begging for respect from people who benefit from your silence. You cannot control whether someone leaves you, but you can control whether you abandon yourself afterward. You cannot control the past, but you can control whether you keep using it as a permanent explanation for your present. Responsibility is the moment you stop saying, "Look what happened to me," as if that is the end of the story. It becomes, "This happened to me. Now what kind of person will I become because of it?" That shift is not small. It is the difference between a wounded person and a conscious person. A wounded person reacts. A conscious person chooses. A wounded person waits for the world to apologize. A conscious person begins rebuilding before the apology ever comes. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Nobody is coming to rescue the version of you that refuses to participate in your own rescue. People may help you. A mentor may guide you. A friend may support you. A teacher may open a door, but no one can walk through that door for you. At some point, you have to stop asking life to prove that you are ready. You become ready by taking responsibility while you still feel unready. But responsibility alone changes nothing until it becomes visible in your behavior, and that is where most people collapse. Because action is where your fantasy dies, and that is exactly why it is powerful. Before you act, everything feels clean. Your plan looks perfect. Your future self looks disciplined. Your dream still feels untouched by failure. You can imagine the body, the business, the calm mind, the stronger character, the better life. But the moment you take action, imagination meets resistance. You discover that you get tired. You discover that you are inconsistent. You discover that your attention is weak. You discover that the thing you said you wanted demands more from you than your words ever did. This is why so many people stay addicted to preparation. They watch another video, watch another video. They save another quote. They buy another notebook. They build another morning routine in their head. They tell themselves they are learning, planning, healing, researching. And sometimes they are, but often they are just decorating their procrastination with the language of self-improvement. The Stoics would not be impressed by how much philosophy you consume. They would look at your life, your reactions, your habits, your temper, your spending, your courage, your discipline when nobody is watching. Because philosophy is not proven by what you agree with. It is proven by what you practice when comfort starts begging you to quit. Courage is not courage when you feel confident. Courage is sending the application while your hands are still shaking. Temperance is not temperance when there is no temptation. Temperance is closing the app when your brain is desperate for one more hit of distraction. Wisdom is not wisdom when life is quiet. Wisdom is choosing the right thing while your emotions are offering you 10 beautiful excuses to do the wrong thing. Think about the person who says they want financial freedom. They hate being broke. They hate checking their bank account. They hate the pressure of bills, debt, rent, and rising prices. But every weekend, they spend money they do not have to look like a version of themselves they have not earned yet. A new outfit, a dinner they cannot afford, a subscription they forgot to cancel. A purchase made not from need, but from insecurity. Then they say, the system is impossible. And maybe the system is hard. But a hard system does not excuse a careless life. Stoicism does not ask you to control the market. It asks you to control the leak, the small daily leak of attention. The small daily leak of money, the small daily leak of energy, the small daily leak of self-respect. This is where action begins. Not with a dramatic transformation, not with a cinematic comeback, with one visible act that proves you are no longer negotiating with weakness. Send the message. Make the call. Train for 20 minutes. Delete the app for one day. Pay the debt before buying status. Apologize without defending yourself. Wake up when you said you would. Do the small thing you keep avoiding. Because every avoided action becomes a vote for the person you claim you no longer want to be. And every completed action, no matter how small, becomes evidence. Evidence that you are not trapped. Evidence that your emotions are not your master. Evidence that your future is not waiting for motivation. But there is another trap. Action without direction can make you busy, exhausted, and still completely lost. And that is why discipline must be aimed at something higher than movement, because not all action is progress. Some people are busy every day and still escaping their life. They wake up early. They drink the coffee. They make the list. They answer messages. They chase tasks. They stay occupied from morning until night. But deep inside, nothing is being built. No character, no freedom, no clarity, no direction, just motion. And motion can become another hiding place. This is why discipline needs direction. Discipline is not punishing yourself. It is not waking up early just to feel superior. It is not working until you collapse so you can call exhaustion ambition. Real discipline is an agreement with your future self. It says, I will not let today's mood destroy tomorrow's life. Most people wait for motivation because motivation feels romantic. It arrives like a spark, a sudden burst of energy, a late-night promise, a new playlist, a fresh notebook, a vision of becoming someone better. But motivation has no loyalty. It visits you, excites you, and disappears the moment discomfort enters the room. The Stoic does not build a life on emotional weather. He builds on standards. He asks, what kind of person am I trying to become? Then he shapes his day around that answer. Not perfectly, but deliberately. This is where vague desire must become a concrete goal. I want to change is not a goal. It is a wish wearing serious clothing. I want to be healthier is not enough. I want to make more money is not enough. I want to be more disciplined is not enough. Those words are too soft. They give you too many places to hide. A real goal has edges. For the next 30 days, I will train for 20 minutes every morning. For the next 30 days, I will spend 45 minutes learning one valuable skill. For the next 30 days, I will track every dollar I spend. For the next 30 days, I will not check my phone during the first hour of the morning. Now your excuse has nowhere to stand. Think about the person trapped in FOMO. They check crypto, then stocks, then AI trends, then influencers, then productivity hacks, then someone's morning routine, then someone's income report. Their mind is constantly stimulated, but their life is barely moving. They know a little about everything, but they stay with nothing long enough to become dangerous. This is not curiosity. It is scattered fear, the fear of choosing one path and discovering how much effort it actually requires. Stoicism cuts through this. Wisdom chooses the right target. Courage begins before confidence. Temperance removes distractions. Justice asks whether your growth makes you more useful to the people around you. So choose one area where delay is quietly taxing your life, your health, your money, your skill, your emotional control, your relationships. Then choose one action so small and clear that you cannot negotiate with it. Not someday, not when you feel inspired, today. Because discipline is not proven by intensity. It is proven by returning after a bad day, returning after embarrassment, returning after boredom, returning when no one claps. That is how a person becomes solid. But once your life begins to stabilize, Stoicism asks a deeper question. What are you becoming strong for? Because strength without purpose becomes vanity. And self-improvement without contribution becomes another mirror you stare into. This is one of the traps modern people rarely notice. They want discipline. They want money. They want confidence. They want a better body, a sharper mind, a calmer presence. But if all of that growth only circles back to the self, something inside still feels empty. The Stoics did not believe you were born merely to polish your own image. They believed you were part of something larger, a family, a community, a human order. A world where your choices do not end with you. When you stop waiting, you become dependable. When you take responsibility, people can trust your word. When you act instead of complain, your life becomes less of a burden to others and more of a source of strength. That is not a small thing. Think of the parent who finally stops using stress as an excuse to explode at their children. They still have bills. They still have pressure. They still tired. But one day, they decide, my pain will not become the atmosphere my children have to breathe. That is Stoicism in real life. Not a quote, not a book on a shelf, a choice made in the kitchen after a long day, when anger rises, and they choose patience instead. Think of the friend who used to disappear whenever life became difficult. No message, no honesty, no courage, just silence. Then one day, they stop hiding behind overwhelm and simply say, I am struggling, but I am here. That is responsibility. Think of the person who has consumed hundreds of hours of inspiration, but finally closes the screen and becomes an example. They stop preaching discipline and start living it. They stop explaining their pain and start transforming it. They stop waiting for someone to admire their potential and begin earning respect through consistency. This is the deeper purpose of action. Not to become untouchable, not to become superior, not to build a life where nobody can hurt you, but to become the kind of person who can meet hardship without spreading it. To become the kind of person who brings steadiness into chaotic rooms. To become the kind of person whose presence makes life lighter, not heavier, for others. That is what the Stoic path is really asking of you. Do not just become stronger so you can win. Become stronger so you can serve, so you can protect what matters, so you can keep your promises, so you can stop making other people pay for the parts of yourself you refuse to discipline, because every excuse has a cost. Sometimes you pay it. Sometimes your family pays it. Sometimes your future pays it. Sometimes the people who love you most quietly carry the consequences of the life you keep postponing. So stop waiting, not because everything is fair, not because it will be easy, not because you suddenly feel ready. Stop waiting because life is short, and every delayed act of courage becomes a debt your future self must pay. Take responsibility. Act now, and let your life become evidence that you no longer belong to your excuses. So here is the truth most people avoid until life forces them to face it. You do not need a perfect moment. You need a moment of honesty. Because the life you are living right now is not only shaped by what happened to you, it is also shaped by what you keep allowing, the habits you keep protecting, the excuses you keep defending, the hard conversations you keep postponing, the small acts of discipline you keep treating as optional. And no, this does not mean your struggle is fake. It means your power is still real. The Stoic path is not about pretending life is easy. It is about refusing to become weak just because life is hard. It is about waking up and saying, I may not control the storm, but I will control the hands that steer the ship. Start brutally small. Clean the room you keep avoiding. Send the application. Train for 20 minutes. Track your spending. Tell the truth. Put the phone down. Apologize. Walk away. Begin. Because you feel ready. Because readiness is built through action, and every time you act with courage, even in a small way, you carve away the weaker version of yourself. That is why this channel is called Stoic Chisel. Because character is not found, it is shaped. One decision at a time. So now, I want you to choose a side in the comments. Are most people truly trapped by their circumstances, or are they more loyal to their excuses than they want to admit? Defend your answer. And if this message challenged you, subscribe to Stoic Chisel. Because the world has enough people waiting. It needs more people willing to take responsibility.